Good evening. Welcome each of you to the service tonight. Take your hymnals as we begin and turn to number 514. 514, when the roll is called up yonder, I'll be there. 514. Let's stand together to sing.
When the trumpet of the Lord shall sound, and time shall be no more, and the morning breaks eternal, bright and fair, when the saint of earth shall gather over on the other shore, and the roll is called up yonder, I'll be there. When the roll is called up yonder, 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 I'll be there. On that bright and cloudless morning, when the dead in Christ shall rise, the glory of his resurrection share, when his chosen ones shall gather to their home beyond the skies, the roll is called up yonder, I'll be there. It's called up yonder, when the roll is called up yonder, when the roll is called up yonder, when the roll is called up yonder, I'll be there. Let us labor for the Master from the dawn to setting sun, talk of all his wondrous love and care. Then when all of life is over and our work on earth is done, and the roll is called up yonder, I'll be there. When the roll is called up yonder, 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 I'll be there.
Mike, would you lead us in prayer, please? Amen. Thank you. You may be seated. 233. 233. There is sunshine in my soul. 233.
There is sunshine in my soul today, more glorious and bright than glows in any earthly sky. For Jesus is my light. Oh, the sunshine, blessed sunshine, the peaceful, happy moments roll. When Jesus shows his smiling face, there is sunshine in my soul. There is music in my soul today, a carol to my King, and Jesus listening can hear the songs I cannot sing. Oh, there's sunshine, blessed sunshine, the peaceful, happy moments roll. When Jesus shows his smiling face, there is sunshine, my soul.
And verse 4.
There is gladness in my soul today, and hope and praise and love, for blessings which he gives me now, joys laid up above. Oh, there's sunshine, blessed sunshine, the peaceful, happy moments roll. When Jesus shows his smiling face, there is sunshine in my soul.
Believe me on that. Help? Hey, there maybe. Alrighty, some things you can be praying for tonight in addition to announcements. I was able to see Doug this afternoon. He's doing well. He's in good spirits, but just a lot of uncertainty with not knowing what's going on with that mass, most likely a tumor. And so you can just be praying for him. He would be encouraged to hear from you, I'm sure. But he's going to be off work for a while. Might be going over to his mom's to hang out for a while in Iowa. But you can just pray for him for wisdom, direction. Again, his prayer request is that August 10th appointment with a surgeon could be sooner. And so tomorrow he's making a phone call to see if there's any other options. This one's in Omaha. But just the speed at which this seems to be growing right now, he's concerned. And so pray that they could get a consult earlier than August the 10th to help address that need that's there. Saw Floyd this afternoon. He's in good spirits. He had a son-in-law that passed away a week ago, unexpectedly, some difficult circumstances there. And so a lot going on. He's on hospice and had a son-in-law go home. And so just pray for Floyd for encouragement. He'd love visits as well. If you just call him and give him a heads up, he's at the Chateau Gardens right over there by Bethany Park where we're going to be next Sunday night. But if you give him a call in advance as you're walking towards the front doors into the Chateau Gardens, off to your right, the first exterior patio doors you see is his. There's a stone that says the Vyers on it, so you can't miss which door is his. And you just go through that door, and it's easiest to get in that way to visit with him. He won't get up, but he would love some company. And doesn't need to be a long visit. His voice gets weary, but he would love to have folks stop by and say hi. So Lorraine has been going to see him a couple times each week, but I know he'd be encouraged by other visits as well. Nathan was there last week. And so keep Floyd not only in your prayers, but consider stopping by to see him. Asa has an MRI scheduled on Wednesday, so pray for them for some clear results from that. For Matt's mom as well, she has a biopsy on Tuesday. She's felt a lump again, and so some concerns there with her cancer, so pray for good results on that as well. Announcement-wise, this Saturday, the trustees are meeting with someone from the Nebraska State Patrol to get some training and feedback and some things regarding just safety issues at the church. No imminent threats or anything like that, but just wisdom and a course that they're offering. And so if you have interest in participating in that, you can see Matt. He can get you more detailed information. That's Saturday at 10. Some of you have already been invited to that. But Saturday at 10 right here in the auditorium. Guys, remember to be a part of that meeting on Saturday. Sunshine Bunch on Thursday for our seniors. Looking forward to a great time of fellowship there. The picnic next Sunday night. If you can attend, be sure to sign up so we can make appropriate plans for that. This Wednesday, Nathan will be leading our Bible study again. It's been good to be able to meet together for encouragement and prayer midweek. And if you're not a part of that, I would encourage you to start. But the following week, we won't have Wednesday night service because of the group from Maranatha with us on Thursday. So be sure to keep that in mind. Seniors, if you're interested at all in Senior Saints Camp, you've got highlights of the week on the back of the insert. If you're looking for just a day or two, you could go up there and have a good time together around the Word and in fellowship. Details are there. It would probably be good. No, it would be good to let the camp know you're coming. And so if you plan to go for a day or two and want to contact camp yourself, you can get that detail, those information items from Jolene. They probably won't answer, but leave a message. That way they'll know you're coming and be able to plan accordingly. Any prayer requests tonight or other announcements that we should be making? All right, we'll have the men come, and then after the offering tonight, we'll give the teens an opportunity to share thoughts, ways in which the Lord worked in their lives at camp this past week. Trenton, would you lead us tonight? Amen. I'm going to give teens an opportunity to share about their week at camp, and they're scattered there, and there. Maybe should have done it this morning. Tanner had to go back to Fremont today, and Nick was hoping to be out tonight. So we've got half of our group with us tonight, and so they get to represent. And last Sunday night we gave them the whole service. Tonight we're giving them a few minutes. And so who wants to go first? Hey, I hear that voice from the back of the auditorium. The one that was there is now here. I'll bring microphone to you. Or you can come on. Oh, come on down. You're already heading this way. Come on up. However you want to do it. I'll change it up tonight. He's got sermon notes prepared, so this could be a while. What's that? If you all want to come on down, that's fine. Yeah, come on over here. That'd be great. Stand together.
This was a Wednesday evening. Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. This is a Wednesday evening chapel that we did, and one of the minor points we went over was in Matthew 8. Let's see a second. Pretty quick there. She's done this before.
You're fine. That's hot.
Okay. Matthew 18. Ha. Funny.
How about Matthew 28?
Okay. Okay, 18:21. Yeah. All right. And it says, Then Peter came to Jesus and asked, Lord, how many times shall I forgive my brethren when he sins against me? And then it says up to seven times. And then Jesus answers, I tell you not 7 times, but 7 times 70 times. Whatever. Something. It's 7 times 70 times. There we go. So yeah, we just talked about that and how it doesn't really just mean 70 times 7. It means like an unlimited amount. As often as you need to forgive someone, forgive them. It's like, who wants to do the math of what 70 times 7 actually is? That'd be hard. Yeah, mystery maybe. But no, it doesn't just mean 70 times 7. It means as much as you need to, as much as there is. So, yeah. Well, not that there isn't anything, but I actually have to say no because I can't think of anything right now. So if you want to come up to me after the service, I'll probably have something I'll think of. That was just
Okay, so my favorite message was we gotta talk about really knowing the awesome God and who God is. And so this stuff we talked about how he is the creator, sustainer, and how he's the most high, and how he's a true and living God.
Okay. So some things about God that stuck out in your mind. Anything fun about your week at camp or exciting that you'd like to mention? Or a highlight?
Well, my favorite food was, what was it? Was it chicken? It was really good chicken.
Chicken Parmesan.
Chicken Parmesan, it was super good. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Brady was comparing notes about the camps he'd been at in the past with our camp, and the first thing he said was our food's a whole lot better. Found out today that Brady's unique experience with camp is that Chip Wood has been the speaker at all 3 years of camp that he's attended, because Chip was the speaker at the last 2 years of camp at the other camp that I'd rather be at Cedars, IRBC, when he was there. But anyhow, so that's kind of a unique opportunity there too. Joel.
Okay. Get the good stuff first. So
That didn't sound right, did it?
did not. The food I liked was the kebab stuff, the meat, and I liked it a lot. Skit night was terrible. I tried to get rid of it. I think I may have succeeded. Thursday was a good day. So the message, there's 3 of them, and they were kind of in a row that I liked. Thursday morning, he talked about how we need to seek good counsel, and that's something I've always had an easy time doing because my dad's a pastor, so I'm at camp all the time, and I've met all these people, and so even guys that are my age and guys that are older, so that's been something that I need to remember. And then on Friday morning, he talked about, Friday evening, he talked about how we need to commit. Commit. And then I applied that to the morning message, and it was you need to, like how I should commit to
loving God and like prioritizing Him and praying and Bible study and meditation and worship and memorizing Scripture, and then loving others in just the church and in worship and serving them, and evangelism, discipleship, edification, accountability, and so just how I need to commit to doing those things and not just say I should do them and not do them, but actually commit.
Good. Hunter just finished 3 weeks at camp, and he's sick. And so you can pray for Hunter that he would get on the mend soon. Junior cabin leader and then a camper after family camp week. And so he's under the weather today, so you can pray for him. It was great to have Nick out last Sunday morning, and then for the week at camp, and then today. We haven't seen Nick for a long time, probably 6 months. And so that was good, and I'm praying that this week at camp would be the impetus for him to get serious about a walk with the Lord again. So keep praying for him. Jana DeHaan, who comes to youth group on Wednesdays, attends another church here in town with her family. She was able to go with us. And who am I forgetting? Tanner. And so great opportunities there for people to be confronted with the message of the Word and for the Word to do a work. I've appreciated Dwayne's ministry out there this summer. Joel mentioned the kebabs Thursday night. They've been doing, there you go, yeah, give him a round of applause. They've been doing this luau meal on Thursday nights where they fold up the legs of the table and set the tables down on buckets, and you sit on the floor. And so it takes a lot of setup work on the part of the staff, and this week he had a staff of junior hires, 4 girls and a boy, and they did a great job. They worked hard, but just set the stage for the theme of the week, and so I appreciate folks and their dedicated work out there at the camp too. And so just continue to pray for strength. I know Pastor Wood and Pastor Phil were both under the weather this last week, and I think they're through that. But pray for strength for cabin leaders as they finish their final week of 5, that God would use them in a great way to have an impact in the lives of young people. All righty, let's sing together again tonight.
A couple songs up on the screen for you tonight. Change My Heart, O God, Make It Ever True.
Change my heart, O God, make it ever true. Change my heart, O God, may I be like you. You are the potter, I am the clay. Mold me and make me, this is what I pray. Change my heart, O God, make it ever true. Change my heart, O God, may I be like you.
And the song, God Hears My Prayer.
I bow on my knees before Him. I come to my Lord in prayer. Convinced of His love and mercy, I bring my every care. I pour out my heart before Him who knows my deepest fear. In pity His arms surround me, He wipes away each tear. God hears my prayer when I come to Him in my darkest hour. God hears my prayer when I bring to Him my need. He'll lift me up and He'll give me grace in trouble. God hears my prayer, He will surely answer me. In humble submission falling, confessing my straying heart, I run to my waiting Father, forgiveness He'll impart. My heart thrills with adoration. His glory fills my sight. Amazed that my God would love me, in me He would delight. God hears my prayer when I come to Him in my darkest hour. God hears my prayer when I bring to Him my need. Lift me up, and He'll give me grace in trouble. God hears my prayer, He will surely answer me.
It's been good to have Chip with us today. I've appreciated his ministry, specifically of late, getting to know him through the ministry at BCP. And was able to sit on the first set of board meetings for me there, and neat to see how everybody's at work together accomplishing God's best in church planting across the states. But I appreciate his heart for kids. We probably really got to know each other, and maybe even then limited, at the GRB conference in Omaha 3 years ago, when he led the kids ministry there for the kindergarten through sixth graders. And neat to see his heart for young people, no doubt as an assistant pastor, no doubt as a camp director, and now in this unique role of being able to provide things for churches to use as they minister to young people. And so many different tools that are available today. It's neat to see things that are grounded in God's Word, like faith, like practice, that are reliable. And so I'm looking forward to him sharing with us tonight some of his ministry, what God's called him to do, and we'll look forward to being encouraged with that. Thank you, brother.
You might notice that when somebody starts introducing me, I get up here quickly. I have learned that if I can get up here, I don't believe that I'm anybody important, so I have difficulty with being introduced. So just get up here as fast as I can and speak. Boy, today took me by storm. Did today take you by storm? I went over to the Klaus's house, and we had a great time conversing. And they mentioned that, I could do whatever I wanted, rest this afternoon, whatever. And I thought, I'm fine. And then she puts out this smorgasbord, and we ate really well. And then I went comatose for 2 hours. I just went, just totally did not realize I was that tired. And so that was great. Thank you so much for your hospitality today. That was great. I guess it's what I needed. And so now I feel more confident to drive back to camp tonight. Would you take your Bibles and turn to Deuteronomy chapter 6? That's where I'd like to launch from this evening. Deuteronomy chapter 6. Now, if you're a parent that is planning ahead, and you know that you're taking your children into a situation where you don't want them to act up or you don't want them to say the wrong thing, you might preface going into a situation with your children like, now, when we get in there, this is what I expect. Right? And that's kind of the way I look at this passage in Deuteronomy chapter 6, because God is talking to the nation Israel, and he's telling them, this is what I expect. Now, I know that the church and Israel are two separate entities, but much of the same things that he tries to explain to them to do, he expects from us too. And in this passage, it kind of puts everything I was hoping to express in one spot as opposed to going to several passages. So if you will allow me to do that, I know that it's talking to Israel. But the principles are the same for us today. Deuteronomy chapter 6, verse 1. Now this is the commandment, the statutes and the judgments which the Lord your God has commanded me to teach you, that you might do them in the land where you are going over to possess it, so that you and your son and your grandsons might fear the Lord your God, to keep all his statutes and his commandments which I command you all the days of your life, and that your days may be prolonged. O Israel, you should listen and be careful to do it, that it may be well with you, and that you may multiply greatly, just as the Lord, the God of your fathers, has promised you in a land flowing with milk and honey. Now you notice in there, it says, you, your sons, and your grandsons. Now, when God talked to Abraham about offering his son Isaac, it was a specific you and your son, and not just anybody, this particular son. That is a specific isolated incident. But when you have 3 generations involved, it's meant to be a perpetual thing. You and your son and your son's son and your son's son and your son's son and your son's son. And it's meant to, without going on for 6 pages of all the generations that are to come, that triplet there was well received to the original reader, that would mean that that's a perpetual thing to always do. And then this passage goes on to express 7 or 8 things, what that would look like. At verse 4 says, "Hear, O Israel, the Lord is our God. The Lord is one. And you shall love the Lord your God with all your heart and with all your soul and with all your might. These words which I'm commanding you today shall be on your heart. You shall teach them diligently to your sons, and shall talk of them when you sit in your house, when you walk by the way, and when you lie down, and when you rise up." Did you notice the progression there? God starts off by saying, I want you to listen to my commands and my statutes. I want you to understand what I'm looking for you, and I want you to express them to your son, and your son will express it to his son, and so on, and here's how it's going to go. And he doesn't start off with verse 7 saying, here's how you're going to teach your children. He starts off with 2 other things. The first thing being, love God first. Then he says, love my words. And so discipleship has a progression or an order by which it starts with us. We are to love God first. That's the first priority in discipleship. We need to be taking care of our personal walk. Secondly, we need to love God's word in such a way that we obey it and we adore it and we handle it and we just can't help but being in it. And then we can, when we rise, when we sit, when we sleep, lie down, it actually is the word there. And it doesn't really mean sleep. When you walk means when you're going through life, when you're living every day. When you sit down is when you have formal instruction. When you lie down means like to recline. They didn't have Amish-made furniture for their dining room table. It was more of a reclining type position. So when you're in a relaxation mode, and then finally when you rise up. When you get up with purpose to go do something. When I was a boy, my dad was trying to find something for me to do. I mean, we worked on the farm, but he wanted me to have a job where I could learn responsibility. I was probably 12. And so he came home one day, he says, I've got a job for you. Oh, good, I got a job. Cleaning the church for 4 hours a week. Cleaning the church for 4 hours a week. All right, I had to just put in 4 hours. So every Saturday, sometimes on a Friday, I would go, I'm in the church all by myself, and I'm cleaning the church. And I'm left, it's up to me to figure out what that means. Here's the closet of stuff, go for it. So for a whole year, I went and cleaned the church, and I kind of did so with a mediocre is the word I want. Mediocre mindset. So I'd vacuum, and I didn't know what dusting was. I didn't know what actual cleaning was. I don't even know if I knew what the word sanitary meant. But I cleaned the church, right? To weigh a 12-year-old. A sweet lady named Mrs. Spear. This is my Sunday school teacher. Another verse, and it was this kid's verse, and I didn't remember my verse. And so finally, I was just frustrated and got out of wherever he was seating, and the first thing I knew was he had me by the ear, and we were going out back. That same Mrs. Spear came to me one day, and I said, "Whoa, what are you doing here?" She says, I came to have a conversation with you. Okay. She says, look up there and tell me we're standing in the auditorium. Mind you, my whole church could fit in this one section. Okay? She said, look up there and what do you see? A ceiling fan? She says, yeah. What do you see on the ceiling fan? A light? She says, let me show you something. She takes me back to the back closet. She reaches in the closet. She pulls out this thing I've never seen before. It has a extendable pole, and she's putting it together, and she says, watch this. And she swiped one thing, and this poof of dust just went everywhere. Then she proceeded to show me windowsills and Clorox and what the toilet should look like when I'm done. Those type of things. She must have taken 3 hours just to walk, and she actually cleaned with me. She's like, and when you vacuum, this is what you should do. Don't do this. Do this. And make sure you overlap. And she was just very patient with me, and she walked me through everything. Well, two Sundays from then, my dad went to a deacon's meeting, and sometimes I had to go with Dad, and I would play in the church while he had his meetings because, nobody else was at home, and Dad drew the short straw. And so I went, and I'm at church, and I'm sitting in the church, and I'm looking at that ceiling fan, and I'm thinking, and I'm processing. And I got up, and I went, and I marched into that deacon's meeting, to which I remember seeing my dad's face like, okay, this is not going to be good. I'm responsible for this little brat, and he's now in my meeting. And I said, Pastor, can I have a moment of your meeting? To which Pastor looks at my dad, and my dad's like, I said, Pastor and deacons, I would like to tell you that I would no longer like to be paid. I have been cheating God. I have been cheating the church. I have been cheating everybody, including myself. I took money from you to clean the church, and I didn't know what clean was, and now I do, and I am ashamed, and I want to just, for the next year, can I just clean for free, and please, I don't know, you can punish me however else you want to do it, but I'm really sorry. So they agreed right there and then that would be fine, and they let me leave, and I proceeded to clean while they were finishing their meeting. What I didn't know was, after I left that meeting, they had like a praise session. The brat has become a man. And they took all that money that they withheld from paying me, and they just accumulated it into account. So when I went to college, they gave it to me. I tell you that story in my life to tell you this. Barna did a poll of American churches years ago, and keep in mind, they don't just poll Baptist churches or certain, they just, this is across the board type thing, but still the information is good. And they found out that 4 out of 5 children who turn 18 in this day and age will leave the church and never come back. But this doesn't stop there. They asked the one person who stayed in church why it was that they stayed. And the answer unanimously across the board for all those people that were the 1 out of 5 that they were exception to the rule, why did they stay? Their answer was always very similar, the same way, and that was because some older person in the church took the time to invest in me. They helped me understand what the value of church was. They helped me understand how to walk the walk. They helped me to understand the purpose of it all. And that's why I stayed in the church. And I thought about, when I saw that poll, I cried. Because by the grace of God, I was that one that Mrs. Spear invested in me to show me what it meant to really love God and serve God, and be a part of the church. Discipleship is more than 1 hour a week of youth group or Sunday school. The average 40 years, oh, hold it. Yeah, no, I'm going to show you a video that will tell you that, so I'll let you, I'm not going to repeat information for you. But let's just say, when you hear this information, children used to spend more time by average in the church than they do today. I think I can do this. That's my wife. I talked to her this afternoon. She sends her greetings. She says she wishes she could be here. The reason that she's not, primarily, is because we have still one girl at home. And we would be amiss to travel around the nation and help people with their youth groups and then not take care of our own children. So she's there now taking care of that. When I was in college, at Baptist Bible College in Clark Summit, Pennsylvania, that's where I met Karen. During my 4 years there at school, I worked at UPS in the morning for 4 hours loading trucks, and then in the afternoons I worked for this hotel. Well, I needed to get a job because I was no longer on the farm, and I needed to support myself in terms of daily activities and my school bill. And so I received a job bussing tables from September to December. And I told them when I received the job, I said, now I want you to know, I'm going home for Christmas because my dad's on the farm. I'm the last of 7. He needs my help. I'm going to, during Christmas break, I'm going to go home. I just want you to know that straight up from the beginning. I want you to write it down on my chart. I want to make sure that everything is above board. They understood that. I bussed tables. And when that Christmas break came, I saw that I was on the schedule. And I said, I want you guys to know I'm not showing up for these days. Oh, you have to. You're on the schedule. No. I don't have to because I told you 4 months ago I would not be here. And I want you to just know, do what you've got to do, but my family is important, and I want you to. So I went home. I came back, and I didn't have a job. And so I was just exploring, was there any other jobs? Well, we don't know. Well, who walks in but the owner of the hotel? And he's like, oh, hi, Chip. And he knew me. I had bussed his table several times because the owner came in to the restaurant every Tuesday night, like clockwork, and I established a relationship with him. And he says, what's wrong? I said, well, I lost my job. He says, you what? You lost your job? I said, yeah, here's my story. He says, oh, you did the honorable thing. Don't worry about it. Give me 2 days, I'll find you a job. Less than a day later, he calls me up. He says, show up at this place at this time. He made a position for me. He'd never had a busboy before, or not a busboy. What do you call it? Bellhop. He'd never had a bellhop before. And I was like, okay, what does a bellhop do? He says, I don't know. Just I want you to, do you know how to drive a car? I said, yes. I said, I actually have a CDL license. He says, oh, great. He says, I want you to take the van or the car. Whenever an airport run comes, you just go to the airport, you pick up these people, and you bring them here. He says, I think, I wouldn't trust many people to do this, but I want to try to see if this works. And I said, okay, but I want you to know, when summer comes, I'm going to go home and I'm going to hay it and do the chickens with my dad. He says, no problem. So I did that job, and I left for the summer. I came back in the fall. I didn't go to the front desk. I didn't go anywhere. I went straight to the guy who owns the place and said, do you have something for me? Make a long story short, the first semester was a busboy. The second semester was the position, the bellhop thing, which I learned to clean rooms and carry luggage. And then I was a waiter the next semester. Then the next semester, what did I do the next semester? Oh, I was a security guard on night shift for one semester. Every semester, and then I was in the kitchen. Every semester was a different job. And when I was a senior and I was getting ready to get married and I was getting ready to fill out a resume, I said, oh, Lord, this is not good. This does not look good. My resume looks like Swiss cheese. I was like, Lord, how could you possibly use this? I mean, UPS I've had the whole time, and running the Christian bookstore, I've done that, but this other part of me just looks like I can't keep a job. And I remember when I went to get the job from our first youth pastorate, I remember the pastor asking me, do you have problems with authority? Do you have problems with, I said no, and I explained the whole story, and so he hired me on the spot, and it was a good thing. But that's not the end of the story. See, whenever we have a testimony, it should give glory to God. And here's the part where it twists. After I had spent 8 years learning to love the church, and my wife had had 2 miscarriages, and we were not sure what the next step was, the Lord brought Peter Jenks into our life. Now, Karen had been a roommate with his daughter at college, so we knew of Peter Jenks. Well, he called me up one day. He says, hey, I want you to come over to this camp, and I know you're a visionary. I know that when you look at things, you can picture it how it could be. I just want you to come over and dream. And so I went over there and spent 4 hours with him with my boots on, trudging through the swamp and looking at this little 90-acre camp. And he says, okay, now that you've seen it all, what would you do? Oh, wow. I would do this, and this, and this, and this. You just really need to organize it this way. And you need to clean up these corners. It's just nasty. You need to do this. And I said, do you want me to write it down for me? He says, no, you don't have to write it down. You just need to do the job. All the things you just said, I want you to fill out an application, and I want you to come do this. And as it would have, my pastor that I was working with, that I was working underneath, he retired for health reasons, and it was a good time to make a break. And so we thought, well, we'll just follow God's leading. And sure enough, for 15 years, I was a camp director. Here's where God gets the glory. What does a camp director do? Cleans bathrooms, works at hostess type things, works at food service, works at making beds, works at all the things that God had taught me several years back there that I thought was a mess, became God's revelation to me that he knew exactly what he was doing. If I knew I was going to be a camp director, I probably would have taken some kind of camp ministry major, right? No, I was a music major. Long story short, which worked out great because on the weekends I traveled for the camp to speak and to sing. I brought my whole family with me, and that's where it leads into these. Oh, that's me with hair. Just wanted to, and we're sitting in a 1968 Rolls Royce. But these are my 3 pride and joys. Every one of them plays an instrument, or at least 1 or 2 instruments. And they did that by traveling with my wife and I every weekend to go to a different church, because the camp that we were leading was a ministry of 35 churches. So I would travel 32 Sundays out of 52 Sundays of the year, and I would just go, and we would present the ministry of what's happening at camp, and we were just accountable to tell them what's happening at their church. And that's how I treated it, because I loved the church. I just wanted them to know what's happening at their camp, and it was a beautiful, beautiful time. This is the front sign of the camp. This is, wow, that's really either sensitive or I've just got a trigger finger. That's the lake that it was on. That's where the story of the boat happened that I told you this morning. And there's the climbing wall. I like this picture because I look small from a distance. That's just really I like looking small, because the up-close version isn't. While I was at camp director for 15 years, I realized that this particular camp was only run for the 6 weeks of summer, and the other part of the year I did travel on weekends, but then I was all by myself. I feel like I understand what Phil does, because you can get so much more done in the summertime because you have all this help. But when the summer program stops, you understand they have weekend stuff, and Phil and Joyce do it primarily all themselves. That's why you have children, because you need help, right? And so you spend all week doing what your staff could have done or did do during the summer in 2 hours. You spend all week doing it so that you're ready for these weekend events. But quite often in the dead of the winter, I just needed to have an outreach. I felt like, yes, I have a ministry, but I want to have an outreach to my community. So I became a fireman and EMT, and that worked out well. There's lots of stories from that I won't share with you, but I'm just trying to tell you about Karen and I and our heart for the church and people and our community. the camp was a great place to help encourage young people to grow. So then God called us from camp ministry. I'm not doing this right. There we go. To Grafton, Ohio. I was called to be the Joy Club director. Joy Club has been around since 1951, and it's a very inexpensive but godly program for young people, whereas some programs will cost in the thousands to provide for their children. This is designed to be like very inexpensive, and it is. And that's what they called me to do. But then very quickly, we have grown it, and I'll explain that in a little bit. But Baptist church planters, even though the name says that we plant churches, we really don't plant churches. We help churches to plant churches. And there's a theology there that's very important, because we don't do the work of the church. We help churches to do the work of the church, because we are called in Matthew 28. So we did get to Matthew 28 tonight. The Great Commission is for us to go and make disciples. And so when churches are looking to plant a church, they contact us. We help them to do some of the organizational things that they might not know how to. There are several facets of Baptist church planters. There's the church care ministry. If a church is struggling, they want advice. We come and help them. There's the church care construction, where we build churches. We have missionaries who just build churches, and they do a great job with doing that, very excellent. We have a Spanish ministry, and then there's Karen and I with the youth ministry division. So no longer, they don't call us the Joy Club directors anymore, even though we do that. We are the youth ministry directors. We changed the name because we do so much more to help churches. Pastor Jenks planted a church in Bath, New York, and that is our sending church. We are very church-orientated. We don't just go and do stuff. I am actually not, even though I work at the BCP office, I am more of a missionary sent from a church in New York to do the work. And this is my sending church pastor.
Hi, I'm Pastor Alan Lindbart from Harvest Baptist Church in Bath, New York. And it's with great joy and anticipation of what God will do that we want to present to you the Wood family who are being sent out as missionaries from our church, Baptist Church Plant. As pastor of their sending church, we're thrilled at what God has called Chip and Karen to. This is a family that has a love for the local church. Personally, I've known Chip and Karen for the past 9 years, as they have served as director and wife at Lamoka Baptist Camp. I have served on the camp board, and 4 of my own children have worked at Camp Lamoka under Chip's discipleship for the past 6 years. I can personally attest as a father to the effective, creative, biblical discipleship my children have continued to return for year after year. I count their time of learning to serve the Lord under Chip and Karen's ministry to be one of the biggest factors of spiritual growth in the lives of my children. The Wood family is passionate about the local church. Chip is skillful in communicating God's word and gifted at reaching and discipling young people. The position they'll be filling at BCP as Youth Ministries Director is a God-given fit.
At Baptist Church Planters, we've been there for going on 5 years. We're still raising our support. We still have about $1,000 a month that we're looking to do, and we enjoy traveling around. So to supplement that monies, I drive school bus, and Karen teaches in the school, and she's a music teacher there. I really do enjoy driving bus and having that connection with the young people. It really helps me with what I do, because I get to see the different age groups on a constant basis and realize their struggles that they're going through today and the issues they have. You don't have to work too hard. You just keep your ears open, and you really find out where the children are at this point. Here's the 4 areas. The top 2 were in existence before I came along. The Little Lambs is the preschool, and the Joy Club goes up to 6th grade. I realized that children don't stop needing discipleship at 6th grade, so I started writing a curriculum called Teen Expeditions. So for the 7th through 12th grade, that's what I do in the office when I'm not currently doing other things. I sit down and write curriculum that will help disciple young people. It's a 6-year cycle, and it goes through several things. I'll explain that more in a minute. But then we also realized that when we traveled to churches talking about the writing that we were doing and the programs that we had, that we spend thousands of dollars on curriculum, but we don't spend hardly anything on teaching our teachers. And so Karen and I, that's what Karen and I do most, is we travel to churches in states and we just teach teachers or do whatever the church needs to help to increase or grow their youth program. So this is the pre-K, this is the Little Lambs, it has 4 books, it has worksheets, it has activities, it has memory cards. Joy Club is the next step up, 1st through 6th grade. It has 8 books that travel all the way from Genesis to Revelation, 4 books in the Old Testament, 4 books in the New Testament, comes complete with visualized CD and resources like daily devotions for their kids in 1st through 6th grade. The devotionals all through the week go with the lesson that is taught. They have books. It's kind of like, if you're familiar with Awana, it has the vest, the buttons, the pins, the patches, and awards that go with it. I'm chagrined to see how awards go these days. They're getting lighter and lighter and chintzier. And so I have found a man in a church who just loves to work with wood. And so instead of having press board, I have him make solid wood plates, and then I dress it up with the rest of the things. And then for the teen program, I developed an award. It's a solid walnut. It has 8 pieces to it, a top, a bottom, and then 6 pieces. Every year they're in the program, they get another block with another word that relates to that year. The first year is the whole year is a travel through Hebrews chapter 12, what is faith? And then the next year is Compass of Hope, which is the names of God and the dispensations through the Bible. So it has a quick look through how the whole Bible is put together and who the Bible is about. I'll ask children a lot. I'll say, now, Jonah and the whale, who is the main character? And most of them will say Jonah. I'll say, David and Goliath, who is the main character? Oh, David, for sure. And I'll do that with several stories. And then I'll say, I'm sorry, but you're all wrong. The Bible, every account in the Bible, every single one of them is all about God. God is the main character of every part of the Bible. And that starts off good conversations with them. But so going on with the plaque, the next year is a survey of the Old Testament, then a survey of the New Testament, and then apologetics, and then what is worship. And so that is meant to help us in the teen years grasp some totality of discipling them. And then the seminars have really grown into more than just teaching seminars, but we have seminars for church security, seminars for how to disciple young people, how to organize our church in a way that everybody is involved. I believe in 100% discipleship, meaning everybody who is a member of the church. I believe that the Great Commission was not just written to those who have teaching ability, but to every member of the church. Then there's seminars for parents, helping them with money management, helping them to teach children these things, safety, we have marriage seminars, teaching parenting seminars, and then the teacher seminars are pretty basic. I'll teach from 6 to 8 hours on a Saturday, a teaching seminar, helping answer questions and organize their classrooms, and then preach on Sunday, and it really works well. The only thing I've kept from my EMT days is I still teach CPR. I travel around helping teach CPR, and what a wonderful way to get into a public school. If you teach CPR, you go in there and you can talk about, how the heart shouldn't really function. It functions only with God. And it's really been a great outreach for me. So I continue to do that outreach from my EMT days. So Karen and I travel around. This is us just interacting with junior church and children's programs, having a good time. We really enjoy the fact that our children love the local church, having raised up and traveling through churches. They really enjoy that. Both my oldest, Elizabeth, graduated from Faith Baptist Bible College and just finished her first year with teaching in Cedar Rapids, Iowa. Jonathan finished his first year, and he's taking a year off to work at home. And my daughter, my youngest daughter, Catherine, is going in to be a sophomore. While I was here at camp, my 15-year-old daughter went to Washington, D.C. She wants to be a forensic scientist. And they approached her, her school approached her, she goes to public school, and said, we think that you would be a great candidate to go down to Washington, D.C. So she raised the $6,000. I left 2 days before she was to get on a plane for the first time in her life by herself. My 15, parents, you're feeling this with me, right? My 15-year-old baby got on a plane by herself, flew to Washington, and while I'm speaking the whole week of junior camp, in the back of my mind is, Lord, help my daughter, help my daughter. And I thought to myself, you know what? If I was there and something went wrong, I would probably jump in to try to help her. But because I'm totally removed, she had to rely on God. So my prayer the whole time was that she would learn how to trust God in this whole scenario. So she gets on the plane, she flies down there, she has to find her own way from the airport in Washington, D.C., find her own way from the airport to the college, and then she's on her own for her meals, so she's taking taxis through Washington. I'm telling you, a fearful thing. That what did I do? Am I a bad parent or am I a great parent? And the jury is still out. And so she does the whole, and she flies home. Her flight is delayed. She sits in the airport in Washington, D.C. by herself for 6 hours. Finally gets on her plane, finally gets home, finally texts me when she gets home. She says, Dad, I made it. But when she got off the plane, I was not there to meet her, but my wife was. And when she got off the plane, she did not say, boy, I'm glad I'm home. She didn't say, that was fun. She didn't say, what a horrible day. What she said was, to my wife, God taught me so much on how to rely on Him. So, I'm a good parent. Karen and I travel. And we love encouraging churches however we can, whether it's through teachers or maybe just organizing how things are laid out. Here's a church we went to in Boyd's Corners, New York. Oh boy, I'm doing it again. There's one in St. Louis, Missouri. I went as far as California to the west and as far as Nova Scotia to the east, which I know Nova Scotia is in Canada, but that's the farthest I've gone. This is the only time I've gone into Canada, but what a great time it has been to encouraging churches. And there's one in Altoona, Iowa. I love my summers because I love talking at camps. Here's IRBC, which stands for I Would Rather Be at Cedars. Okay, yep. That was 2 years of that. Enjoyed that time there. There's another camp in New York State that I've spoken at. And here's what it looked like on Thursday night of Whispering Cedars. I have this high priest outfit that I brought with me and a picture, and we talked about. I did watch on YouTube your online testimony time with the kids up here, and I know it's hard for them to express, but we had a good time relating every piece of the furniture to Jesus Christ. So we were talking in the Old Testament, but we were talking about New Testament times. So that's what we did the first week. I don't have any pictures of this last week because I was sick, but if you want to see those, then you probably have to go on the website. Sunny takes pictures all week long, and she has pictures. So this is a video that I created to try to help explain some of the condition of the church today. Go ahead. Psalm 71 says, O God, thou hast taught me from my youth. Do not forsake me until I show your strength to this generation. We have a responsibility to show our children who God is by example and instruction. The message of God has not changed, but our culture has. Our children are not growing up with the same benefits that we once did. Before 1930, the family was the primary institution, a place where we learned our 68% of our children live in non-traditional homes, and 48 grow up without a father. In 1960, the average child who went to church spent at least 4 hours a week there. Now the average is 1 hour. Before 1960, when a child had a question, they would seek the answer from a parent, grandparent, or church member. Now the trend is to look it up on the internet. While technology is not the problem, our children having free access to a world philosophy without having a filter, godly experience, or discretion is. But still, 58% of parents do not see this as a problem. That is evident by the fact that the average youth today is exposed to 31 hours of TV, 8 hours of video games, and 51 hours of electronic media a week. It's no wonder that our children are rapidly moving away from a biblical worldview. The Bible has all we need for life and practice, but those traditional values, biblical structures, and views of truth are no longer prevalent outside our north. 1/3 of the world's population right now is under 15. That becomes very important when we realize that 80% of all spiritual decisions and faith habits are formed between the ages of 4 and 14. Issues like right and wrong, prayer, Bible study, faith, who is God, where did we come from, and what is our purpose? Our enemy knows that the key to corrupt the future is to influence the views of today's youth. If we want to be strategic in how to reach the world with the gospel, we need to be more focused and invested in our children. In fact, history shows us that when we are effective with our youth, thousands of parents come to know the Lord through their children. BCP Youth Ministries is dedicated to helping the church in their efforts to raise their children. Our vision is to provide quality biblical tools and training that churches can afford. Tools that aid the teacher to evangelize and disciple today's youth, and training that provides practical biblical methods that will revolutionize how we teach. To help them to grow up children with a vibrant walk with the Lord, to have a firm foundation built on the truth of God's Word, to nurture a love for His Word that evidences lasting fruit in their lives, to see them purposely apply truth and discernment in their everyday walk, and to see those children be dynamic and committed church members who are engaged in reaching the lost and training disciples. BCP Youth Ministries is a division of Baptist Church Planners in Grafton, Ohio. Joy Club is one facet of our ministry that has been reaching boys and girls for Christ since 1951. Serving the church by providing effective, affordable tools and training to grow vibrant children of faith. Our resources are currently being used by 70 churches in 30 states across America and Canada. Our pre-K through 6th grade Joy Club currently offers a Bible curriculum that covers the whole Bible in a 4-year rotation, student workbooks, awards and vests, Bible memory helps, daily devotionals, PowerPoints and visual characters, and so much more. As missionaries, we are supported by churches and individuals who have a vision for the church and its youth. Being missionaries allows us to provide those tools to churches without a high cost. Often, small churches and church plants struggle to find the tools or training they need to reach their youth, and we are there to help. Being missionaries also allows us to travel and provide hands-on training to teachers who may not be able to get it otherwise. More than ever, we need to focus on equipping our teachers for the task of teaching our youth. We offer a solid approach to learning God's Word that impacts the teacher and student's life in a way that yields lasting fruit. Colossians 1:10 says that you may walk in a manner worthy of the Lord, to please Him in all respects, bearing fruit in every good work and increasing in the knowledge of God. We believe that it is imperative that we pass on faith to our children. The need is great, the responsibility is ours, the task is paramount, and the need is met. If you were to think about our young people at 5 years of age, they have this much experience, but they have that much curiosity. If you double their age, now they're 10, they've got twice as much experience, but now they're a little bit more aware. When they're in their classroom and they go to answer a question, they think twice because they realize at this point, at 10, that if I answer this question wrong, I might get laughed at. So they have a little bit more caution. Did that show up? Yeah. So I call that group the cautious group. Then you double the age again, and you're talking about a 20-year-old. Now, I call this the confusion state, because they're trying to put together, they've just been launched out in the world. They're either at college or a job or work, or they're on their own, and they're trying to figure out, okay, how do I put all that Sunday school stuff together? And that's a wonderful age, because they're like, okay, I realize that I just don't know everything I thought I knew, and they're open to instruction. Then you double that age again to 40, and this is where it starts getting scary, because when you get that old, I don't view that as old anymore, but like when you get to that type of age, you've already solidified some of the habits in your life, and to teach that age or older, I just feel like it seems like cement, right? It's almost like I dare you to teach me something. I really love working with children because they're so curious. They will take in more information than they'll understand, but they'll take it in and they'll ask good questions. And so if you were to want to teach a specific age group with joy, which one would you pick? And that's kind of where I love teaching children. I love being at camp. I love helping young people. I'm not saying that older people like me can't learn. I'm saying you have to want to learn at that age, because you kind of feel like you've got things, your world is put together. You have a specific job, hours, there's parameters in your life, and so forth. So I really I really love teaching young people, and I think it's a great place to teach. This is one of the charts I use to teach teachers how to teach to the heart, as opposed to teaching surface or just helping young people learn how to comply to rules. We need to teach the heart. I'm not going to take the time to explain that right now. But we do work a lot on relationships. I said earlier that discipleship is not just a 1 hour a week thing, send them to youth group. If there's one thing that I can impress upon churches across America, is that discipleship is relationship. I love the bond that happens at camp. The kids get to know each other, and the counselors, and they, when they're saying goodbye, you hear them say stuff like, I'm going to write you, I'm going to call you. It's that type of thing. And camp is a 1 week thing. And it doesn't go on forever. It's a high point. But I think church could be that same high point every week if we invested in our children, if we just took the time to ask them how their week is going, how much have they read the Bible, kind of like not only just an accountability, but just to nurture them and do stuff with them. Many times a church will call me up and say, hey, I'd like you to come and help us grow our youth program. Like, what do you mean by that, grow the youth program? Well, we need more numbers. We need more kids in our church. I was like, okay, how many kids do you have in your church? Well, we have 10. I was like, well, what are you doing with them? Because I believe the principle is, if we are faithful with a little, God will give us much. And so oftentimes the church will call me and say, we need you to help grow our church. And we'll come in and we'll help them, give them tools more to do better with the ones they have. And they're amazed, because when you disciple well the ones you have, they become your best advertisement. And after you've worked and nurtured with them for a couple of years, you don't have to advertise anymore, because they are your best advertisement. When they realize what their task is and role in the church, and they become important, then their friends show up at the doorstep. Generation integration, we talked about this morning a little bit, of getting all the generations to talk. We have done well in our culture to segment. Let's get a Sunday school class for every age group. And I'm not against that. I love Sunday school. It's a great training place. But we need to do more activities together as a group so that all of us are together. Bible interaction, really just sitting down. If you go to camp, it's not out of place to go to a camp and see someone sitting down with another person and opening up their Bible and talking about it. And I'd like to see more of that happen at the church level with our young people. Accountability and Bible memory and stuff like that. Because Satan has attacked the family unit, it's not the same as when you and I grew up. Grandma and Grandpa don't live out the back door, and all of us live together. And you saw from the video that the statistics I found really talk about how we have a broken family unit. And so I believe the churches in this day needs to help send material home more that helps with daily Bible reading and actually provide materials for the family to have devotionals, stuff like that. And when we're suggesting these ideas in churches, it seems to be going over very well and helping to grow the church across America. And then finally, I already told you, 100% church involvement, everybody as a part of discipleship. Our children don't see the world the same way as we did. We live in a post-Christian world. Our country was formed on Christian values, and there are still things about our culture that are still Christian, whether they realize it or not. But I don't believe technology is the problem. I believe we just need to teach them discretion to use it in a godly way. I use technology every day, but I use it in ways to actually disciple. And even though I know that it could be used for evil, we just have to teach our children about those evils. So my question for you is, what else would you like to know? I tried to spew forth, and I wanted to have an opportunity just to ask you, is there anything else you'd like to know about what we do? I don't see a clock. I really don't know what time it is, nor do I know how much time I should be taking, so I'm just keeping going. If you ask a question, I'll answer it. Now no one's going to ask a question because they know that it's time to... Any questions at all? Because if you have a question, it's probably the question that somebody else is thinking, and it would be good to just bring it up. Yes? We're at 90%. And we've just kind of hovering there for a little bit. But I will say this. I haven't been traveling and speaking much this spring. I've been really focusing on writing I just finished the 3rd volume of a 6-volume series for that senior high. So I needed to get some good writing done. I didn't do a lot of traveling, so I need to get back on the trail and express what we do and do more of this. Any other questions, comments, or smart remarks? Thank you for allowing me to be here. I really enjoyed my time. I'm having a good time at your camp, getting to know the camp people and getting to know your children. I pray that you'll continue to pray for this week, that the young people will not just come and have fun, but that they will grow in the Word and it'll affect their life so that they formulate habits to where they walk better for the rest of their life after being at camp. Thank you, Pastor, for allowing me to be here.
Father God,